Hey there, so we have episodes 5 and 6 of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Episode 5 entitled Rewind because we go back and see what happened to Fitz, and episode 6 entitled Fun and Games. Now episode 5 answers a lot of questions, mainly what happened to Fitz and who is that bald agent-like guy who sent them to the future in the first place. Now with regard to Fitz, he was actually arrested by the police, but he was able to contact Lance Hunter by writing his rants into this magazine called Ball Blaster Hooligan, which Lance Hunter was able to eventually find. So he was undercover as Fitz's attorney and came to his rescue. There was this character named Rusty who died in a helicopter crash trying to rescue them, but they stole his RV. And I like that little joke they made out of old-fashioned MCU comedy, where Fitz was basically complaining about the RV that they were in, how it was so old and whatnot. And then when smoke came out when Lance opened the engine, he said, "Oh look, we even have cloaking." They followed the truck that kidnapped their team with the security systems and ended up finding the bald guy, the bald agent guy, who was in charge of it all. Now the first answer we have here is he's not evil and he does not work for anyone else. He just works on his own. Now how he got those soldiers to help him is another story entirely different from this one. Now, here are his reasons for kidnapping the team and sending them to the future. As was stated, there is a prophecy. But who is the prophet? If you guys remember the Hive season, wherein there was this guy who, if you touched him, you could see the future, specifically how you were going to die. Now that person was an Inhuman, and that Inhuman had a daughter named Robin, who he carved little Robin bird figures for. That daughter was in this episode, and she is actually the prophet that this bald agent is following. Now the reason that Fitz was not included with the team was because Fitz wasn't part of this prophecy. He wasn't part of the team that was supposed to be there. But then later on, Robin tells them all that Fitz was actually meant to save them after they were sent to the future. So now Fitz has to go to the future. This bald being is some sentient being who has been on the earth for a long time. He has a ship of his own and says that the monolith cannot actually be controlled, and that the prophet, or Robin, was actually the one who told him when the monolith will open, so he couldn't send Fitz in the same way. So what do? Cryo freeze. That's right, Fitz sleeps all those years until he can wake up in the future, making Fitz actually the biological oldest agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. So to me, this disproves a couple of theories, the first one being that of a multiversal theory wherein our agents actually came from a different universe than the future they are in, because Fitz was able to cryo sleep into that timeline, therefore they are in the same universe. Now how then was Quake able to destroy the world if she was out of time? This is something that will have to be answered later on. In order to survive everything, Fitz would be hidden in the spaceship of their newfound bald agent friend. Now if I were them, I would have taken Bobby Morse and Lance Hunter along with me, because think about it, they could really be handy and their plan was to get back to the past anyway. And if they had a problem about people finding out where they are while they're in cryo-freeze sleep, I don't think that's an issue since they will be in an alien spaceship revolving around the Earth. Of course, the background story, the reason as to why they had to stay there, was so that they could take watch over Robin and her mom. I forgot to mention that the bald alien guy actually took the Earth name Enoch, so I'll refer to him as that from now on to make it easier on myself and on your part so we are all in the same page. Moving into episode 6, we have Fitz totally transformed into Boshtok the Marauder. This was all an idea of Enoch, of course, because you see, Cassius is assembling the worst of the worst to buy his Inhumans. And who better than the Marauder, the spoiled rich alien humanoid person, I guess, who always buys what he wants with his unlimited wealth. I have to say though, I'm really impressed because Fitz played this part perfectly. Daisy and later on Gemma see Fitz, but they don't say a word. Fitz tricks Cassius into removing the thing in Gemma's ear that stops her from hearing anyone else but his own voice. Unfortunately, he admits to people that the telepath has been lying to him and he kills him on the spot, or he has him killed by his number one lieutenant, the girl with the steel balls. Incidentally, the last fight that this guy had was with Belinda May, so now we know where she's been. It's just too bad that Fitz' efforts to save them both was in vain, but at least May survived. We learned that Cassius has a brother and a father. His father is apparently important and his brother is deemed more important than he is. That's why Cassius is, outcasted into this outpost while his brother oversees everything else his family owns. They get a visit from his brother, who insists that his lieutenant is the one who challenges the destroyer of worlds. Of course, this fight happens, but just when things are seeming bleak, Fitz right away jumps into action, icers everyone he can, and Gemma slits Cassius' throat, though he seems to be alive, and they escape. Not before Fitzsimmons agree to marry each other, of course. Coulson and the team are not having it easy too. Now, Flint, the kid from before, turns out to be an Inhuman, and as he goes through Teragenesis, Yo-Yo saves him, and the Kree thinks that he disappears or escaped off somewhere. Grill overhears the team talking and finds out that Yo-Yo is also an Inhuman, and does not believe that they are actually the people from the prophecy. He traps them with their metrics and tries selling them off to Cassius, but then Flint finally gets his powers, and I guess is either somewhat of a telekinetic or has power over stones or dirt material, and hurls a big rock at Grill, ending him. We're all fine with this death, to be honest, or I think most of us are anyway. But what's disturbing is that of Tess. They actually kill Tess as an example to other people who may be hiding Flint from them. The episode ends with Enoch going into a unspecified level of the outpost of the station, disguised as a Kree. So Fitz was reunited with the rest of the team, and they will now be introduced to Enoch. Of course, there are some new characters that were killed off, like Ben, the Inhuman telepath, and Tess, the person who helped them, who I was thinking would actually make it through to the end. Who we have not seen since episode 4 is Deke. We also yet have to know who the people from the surface are. Of course, we know that Melinda May was sent to the surface to die, but then Fitz had Enoch pick her up there with what I can assume is his ship. So while this doesn't outright say that Fitz and Enoch aren't the people who are sending the messages to the S.H.I.E.L.D. team from the surface, it could still possibly be them, or it could really be new characters. Though what I know for sure that my theory of Fitz being the father of Deke isn't true, because he also time traveled in his own sort of way. The number one thing I want to find out here is how Quake was able to destroy the Earth if she was out of time this whole time. Or I'd even like to know if she was the one who destroyed the Earth to begin with, or they all just think it's her. Maybe it's an Inhuman with similar powers. So if you like this video, do show us by hitting that like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more great videos.